So in my experience, one of the greatest obstacles we have for growth is cash. Everything in my experience, and again, I'm speaking of my experience as somebody who ran a logistics company, COD is still 97% of all transactions. So there is a way of doing business here, which is cash driven, which still has not been disrupted to eliminate cash because of what I talked about earlier, which is behavior. Changing behavior is a really tough thing to do. And I think the next big win will be disrupting this cash business, because in spite of this, e-commerce has grown in leaps and bounds, even with this obstacle of cash on delivery. So I think that's something that digital economy, the innovation going forward, and how do we eliminate cash is definitely something that's going to, catapult the ecosystem here for sure. There needs to be a disruption in fintech. This is the region that, people always say to me, well, is there opportunity here? Absolutely, there's opportunity in the Middle East. Absolutely. And the biggest opportunity is in fintech, because this is the area that needs disruption. If you can disrupt people feeling more comfortable not to use cash, then you are going to evolve here as the next unicorn, because that is the magic sauce. Because the banking industry, again, and I say this with respect, has a lot of rules and regulations that cause you, not to be dramatic, but to cause you to have your hands tied. So you want to grow, but yet, this is something that needs to change. And I think that this is something that everybody is focusing on. Fintech, the banking sector, how do you disrupt this region? And I'm excited about it.
The president and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland has revealed details of the Fed's ongoing research into a potential digital dollar. Speaking in a keynote address on September 23rd, Loretta Mester emphasized that the Federal Reserve has been exploring central bank digital currencies, CBDC, since before the pandemic, noting that its Board of Governors has been building and testing a range of distributed ledger platforms to understand their potential benefits and trade-offs. She also noted initiatives from regional Federal Reserve branches, including a multi-year partnership between the Massachusetts Institute of Technology (MIT) and the Boston Fed, in addition to collaboration between the Fed's New York branch and the Bank for International Settlements. Despite the ongoing research, Mester asserted that the initiatives do not signal any decision by the Federal Reserve to adopt such a currency, adding that issues related to financial stability, market structure, security, privacy, and monetary policy all need to be better understood. Mester noted that the COVID pandemic has resulted in significant disruptions to crucial infrastructure of the U.S., such as the payments sector, and had resulted in major changes to the patterns and volume of domestic transfers. The spread of COVID-19 heightened the reliance of businesses and individuals on digital services and faster connectivity, as many employees began to work from home and consumers turned to online shopping. Looking ahead, Mester emphasized the importance of making necessary investments to ensure that the U.S. payments system remains resilient in the face of extreme stress events will need to remain a priority. Mester's speech comes 2 weeks after the Central Bank of the Bahamas announced the archipelago nation was aiming to become the first country to launch a CBDC, revealing that its Sand Dollars digital currency will be launched nationwide in October. Many analysts are critical of the prospects of success for CBDC initiatives, however, with economist John Vass describing state-backed virtual currencies as a defensive posture against the threats posed by decentralized crypto assets to governments' long-standing hegemony over monetary policy.
Give me the pros first for central banking getting into cryptocurrency of some kind.
At one level, it's going to mean that central banks remain in the game. If you look at certain economies like Sweden, where the use of cash is very fast disappearing, central banks may have very little role to play, both in terms of wholesale as well as retail payment systems. So this would keep central banks in the business of creating money, although most money in modern economies is really created by commercial rather than central banks. In addition, having a central bank digital currency would put a crimp on illegal activity that is intermediated to cash, bring a lot more activities into the tax net, and it would also make monetary policy at one level somewhat easier to implement. If we all had deposit accounts with with the Federal Reserve, which would be one way of having electronic money. The Fed would be able to impose negative nominal interest rates, which it couldn't do during the financial crisis. So there is a lot to be said for having a central bank digital currency, although as you're suggesting, there are some negatives as well.
The U.S. is on track, guys. So according to the draft, the digital dollar will be a dollar balances consisting of digital ledger entries recorded as liabilities in the accounts of any Federal Reserve Bank. The bill even notes that such wallets should be branded as Fed accounts. Guys, it's coming together. Every government and central bank will be building their central bank digital currencies. I think the U.S. wants to beat China on this because there's political and economic reasons. Obviously, the US dollar being, the reserve currency, they don't want to lose that power, right? So there is a power battle here. So think about that. And crypto, this is going to build more interoperability for crypto. It's going to get people to understand, hey, money can be digital, because there's still naysayers who think crypto is a scam, a Ponzi scheme, fake internet money, right? There's still people, the masses who think that. They don't understand. But if the government puts out the narrative and the education saying, hey, guess what? You can have the dollar in a tokenized version in an app or whatever it may be, that opens up their minds and understanding to cryptocurrency.
There's a need for a utility type service that lets you move money when you want to pay someone else, pay a store, so that you can pay a store no matter if they use the same bank as you do. You can pay your relative in the rural areas no matter if you use a different bank, or if you want to switch your account from bank one to bank two. And so a lot of our work to get this low-cost digital debit card using the cell phone going is making sure the regulator has set up the right safeguards, and that includes a money transfer system that has very low fees, that lets, and insisting that every bank that's licensed connect up and have these reasonable fees. It's kind of like phone number portability is in the mobile space, that you can switch a carrier and not have to change that phone number. And so that's why the foundation's role in working with these regulators and taking lessons from different countries will help get this into the most pro-poor form we can.
So let me ask you, because there's another answer to this question. So you're talking about relying on regulatory infrastructure and banks participating, but there are many, many investors and smart people out there who will tell you that the answer to these questions is Bitcoin. So what do you think about Bitcoin as a solution to these problems?
Well, the effort to make sure your Bitcoin provider isn't going to lose your money, and your understanding of the volatility of Bitcoin, I'd hardly say that's ready for poor people to have it.
And the whole agenda is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is giving me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to.
But a new patent has been uncovered, and to say that it's interesting would be an understatement. This publisher number for this patent is WO 2020 060606, and it's a Microsoft patent titled Cryptocurrency System Using Body Activity Data. Let's read the description. Human body activity associated with a task provided to a user may be used in a mining process of a cryptocurrency system. A server may provide a task to a device of a user which is communicatively coupled to the server. A sensor communicatively coupled to or comprised in the device of the user may sense body activity of the user. Body activity data may be generated based on the sensed body activity of the user. The cryptocurrency system communicatively coupled to the device of the user may verify if the body activity data satisfies one or more conditions set by the cryptocurrency system. and award cryptocurrency to the user whose body activity data is verified. The language of this is intended to be vague and leave the reader not really understanding what this all means, but this is mind-blowing. The number is 060606, and this has to do with using currency that's directly connected to your body. It doesn't get any crazier than this. This is exactly what one would think of when thinking about a mark of the beast microchip style technology that would be used in the buying and selling of goods. This patent is about mining cryptocurrency, but it's still to do with human bodies connected to a device that processes money, in this case, crypto money. Let's read Revelation 13:16 through 18.
And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
The fact that this Microsoft patent bears the number 666 is quite startling. A lot of us knew that these things were coming, but this is unfolding a little faster than most of us anticipated.
So this is where the microchip implant story begins.
You will be chipped, it's just a matter of time. A small firm recently embedded microchips in their employees as a way to bypass company badges and corporate logons and to get attention for their cafeteria kiosks, which are available on a cashless payment plan like Apple Pay.
The latest office innovation is a microchip implanted in the skin and designed to replace the traditional keypad for opening doors, using the copier, even buying food in the cafeteria.
Employees at a vending company are going from the assembly line to front of the pack to get microchipped.
Do you think this is the future?
It is the future, and we look at this as being responsible.
The implant, which has been FDA approved, is the size of a grain of rice and is injected under the skin between the thumb and index finger by a licensed piercer.
I think it's the wave of the future, that we'll all have implanted chips that have our medical records.
So you would do it?
Sure.
Okay.
You're carrying around a phone anyway.
This is a microchipping party. Hannah's getting an electronic chip implanted into her hand.
So congratulations, Hannah.
Thank you.
You've been chipped?
Yes, I have.
How does it feel?
It feels good. I'm excited to see what I'll be able to do now.
Can I touch it?
Yeah, you can feel it there. I feel like this is the future. It's the next big thing that's going to happen.
A tiny microchip like this inserted just beneath the skin in their hands. This technology will, one day, change the way we live. That in the future, we will all be chipped.
In Sweden, the microchips are already here.
The microchip implants use the same technology that's in contactless credit cards,
which have made cash pretty much obsolete in Sweden.
No cash.
Is a cashless society inevitable? How long will it take before we're cashless?
Many countries are fast moving towards a cashless society.
Between 2000 and 2015, non-cash payments in the U.S. grew by almost 400%. Venmo, the mobile app where people can pay each other on a smartphone, now processes $2 billion a month. This year, Apple added similar payment capabilities in iMessage. These free services are so popular, 30 major banks recently launched a competing product called Zelle.
It would be better if we were more like Sweden, where cash has nearly been phased out. And the U.S. will get there too in another 5 or 10 years.
There's no question that cash, is in its last era.
China's cashless revolution has happened in just 3 years.
In order to avoid the risk of transmission through physical handling of money, we encourage the use of cashless transactions, such as mobile money, M-Pesa and otherwise, and credit cards.
Well, health experts say the coronavirus can live on surfaces like cash for up to 10 days. That has many people worried about shopping and other everyday tasks.
The standard narrative in society is that cashlessness, quote-unquote cashlessness, is a sort of organic process just percolating from the bottom up. Well, ordinary individual people who are just sort of making these organic decisions to switch to this other thing, right? Now, this is pure, if you want to, like this is a pure, to put it crudely, capitalist ideology, corporate capitalist ideology, where essentially you always want to focus attention on the small person in society, quote unquote, the consumer, all right? The sort of like random person who wanders around in markets who apparently controls what's going on in the world, all right? Of course, if you actually go and ask any person in society, how much agency do you believe that you had in the emergence of this technology? Almost nobody believes they had anything to do with the emergence of the technology, all right? What actually happens is that large-scale institutions push the stuff onto you for various commercial reasons and various other reasons. And the large-scale institutions love to disguise themselves and just never talk about themselves as if they're just not there, all right? So the story about the war on cash is a bunch of us who are trying to say, actually, over the last few decades, large-scale institutions, banks, payments companies, governments have all been actively eroding the cash system to slowly make it more and more likely that you're going to quote-unquote choose to go to the digital systems, okay? Now, you might believe that you're choosing this, but actually the whole environment is being structured in a way that makes you more and more likely to do it.
One world government, a new global economy ruled by one man is coming. The banking overlord is coming. And he'll have a solution that everyone will indeed, quote, bow down to, end quote, and he's called Antichrist. And he will have his mark. He will do this for increased control of commerce. It will be perfect and complete control. His economic policy is very simple. Take my mark and worship me or starve. No mark, no merchandise. No seal, no sale. So if you want to function in this new economy under this coming world leader, you have to take the mark.
The world is alive.